In the summer of 1962, Darryl Zanuck assembled the largest cast in Hollywood history, borrowed 23,000 real soldiers from 3 national armies, and made a film so committed to accuracy that he turned away the most decorated American soldier of World War II because he'd fought in the wrong battle. That was The Longest Day, a 3-hour black-and-white epic that cost $10 million at a time when color was standard, required 4 directors speaking 4 languages, and contained at least 1 actor who hadn't just researched D-Day, he'd been there. Today, 15 facts about The Longest Day. From the casting grudge that cost $250,000 to the future James Bond villains hiding in German uniforms to the bonus, the most extraordinary casting story in the history of the war film. Stick around. Fact 1. John Wayne demanded 10 times what everyone else was paid, out of revenge. Most of the film's legendary cast, Henry Fonda, Robert Mitchum, the entire roll call, received around $25,000 for their cameos. John Wayne received $250,000. He demanded it specifically to make it sting. Zanuck had publicly mocked Wayne's passion project, The Alamo, ridiculing the idea of an actor producing his own film. Wayne never forgot. When Zanuck came calling for his star power, Wayne named a figure designed not to reflect his market rate, but to settle a score. Zanuck paid every cent. For a few days of work, Wayne out-earned the entire A-list around him. It is one of cinema's most expensive grudges, and the film is better for his presence in it. Fact 2. The real Eisenhower wanted to play himself, but looked too old. Zanuck wanted the genuine article. Dwight D. Eisenhower, the man who had actually commanded the invasion, was willing to appear as himself. There was one problem no enthusiasm could solve. 18 years and 2 presidential terms had aged him considerably. The makeup department could not reconcile the man in front of them with the general who had stood at the center of D-Day. The solution was Henry Grace, a Hollywood set decorator with no acting credits, who bore such a resemblance to the younger Eisenhower that he was cast purely on appearance. His first ever film role was playing one of the most consequential figures of the 20th century. Fact 3. The film was made in black and white, partly to hide the age of its cast. By 1962, color film was standard. At $10 million, The Longest Day became the most expensive black and white film ever made until Schindler's List. The choice was deliberate and served 2 purposes. Zanuck wanted the documentary quality of wartime newsreel footage, the visual grammar that signals history rather than spectacle. But there was a quieter reason. His cast was full of men in their 40s and 50s playing soldiers in their 20s. Black and white was forgiving in ways Technicolor would not have been. The artistic decision and the practical vanity arrived at the same answer. Fact 4. Sean Connery rushed through his scenes to get to Jamaica. Buried in the enormous ensemble was a young, largely unknown Scottish actor named Sean Connery, playing a cheeky British private. He reportedly asked for his scenes to be shot as quickly as possible because he had somewhere to be. Specifically, Jamaica, where he was about to film Dr. No. The Longest Day was the last role Connery played before becoming James Bond. He was not the only Bond connection on set. 2 actors playing German officers would go on to become iconic 007 villains. The film is, among other things, an accidental gathering of the future spy genre. Fact 5. Robert Mitchum shamed hundreds of extras into freezing water. The Omaha Beach sequences required extras to leap from landing craft into freezing surf. They refused. The water was too cold, and the shoot stopped. Mitchum said nothing. He simply climbed out of the boat and walked into the water himself. Hundreds of extras, unable to remain on shore while their leading man waded into the surf, had no choice but to follow. Some of the shivering in those shots is not performance. Mitchum solved a logistical problem through the specific mechanism of making everyone around him feel ashamed of themselves. Fact 6. Paul Anka wrote the theme, then appeared carrying a rifle. The film's marching theme was composed by Paul Anka, the pop star responsible for Diana and Put Your Head on My Shoulder. Zanuck wanted something that would resonate beyond the traditional film score audience. Anka delivered an anthem that still gives veterans chills. He also appeared in the film playing an American Ranger. He was not alone. Fabian and Tommy Sands both traded their microphones for helmets. The strategy was explicit. Parents came for the history, teenagers came to see their favorite singers in khaki. Zanuck understood his audience. Fact 7. Zanuck turned away the most decorated American soldier of World War II. Audie Murphy was the most decorated American soldier of the entire war and a popular film actor. Casting him would have seemed an obvious and powerful choice. Zanuck said no. His reasoning was historical. Murphy had not been at Normandy. He had been fighting in Italy at Anzio on June 6, 1944. Placing a famous, real-life decorated veteran in the wrong battle would shatter the film's credibility with audiences who knew their history. The genuine war hero stayed home. John Wayne, who had never served in uniform, was paid $250,000 to be there. The contrast is difficult to overlook. Fact 8. 4 directors, 4 languages, 1 film. The production was split along national lines. Ken Anakin directed the British and French sequences. Andrew Martin commanded the American scenes. Bernhard Wicki, a respected European filmmaker, directed the German segments, bringing weight and genuine humanity to the enemy's perspective that most Hollywood war films of the era would never have considered. Zanuck hovered over all of it. The result could have been incoherent. Instead, the different directors gave each nation's story its own texture, while the whole maintained the feeling of one sweeping event. It was an almost reckless way to make a film. It worked. A $250,000 grudge. The real Eisenhower too old to play himself. Mitchum walking into freezing water to embarrass 300 extras. 4 directors making 1 film in 4 languages. We're not halfway through. Still coming? The paratrooper still hanging from a church steeple? The 23,000 soldiers Zanuck borrowed from 3 armies. And the bonus, the most extraordinary casting story in the history of the war film. Fact 9. Zanuck insisted the Germans speak German, almost unheard of in 1962. In virtually every Hollywood war film of the era, every character spoke English for the audience's convenience. Zanuck refused. German soldiers speak German. French characters speak French. Subtitles carry the viewer through. For a major American blockbuster, this was genuinely radical. Studios feared subtitles would drive mainstream viewers away from a 3-hour film. Zanuck believed authenticity mattered more than comfort, and that giving the enemy recognizable human speech would make the film feel like history rather than propaganda. The response from critics and veterans vindicated him. Fact 10. A real D-Day paratrooper hangs from that church steeple, and still does. The film's most iconic image, red buttons hanging helplessly from a church steeple in Sainte-Mère-Église, is based on a documented incident. On June 6, 1944, paratrooper John Steele drifted off course and snagged his parachute on the church tower, left dangling in full view as the battle raged below. The town of Sainte-Mère-Église still hangs a dummy paratrooper from that steeple as a permanent tribute. A piece of military history became a film scene, and then became a fixture of a French town's identity. Few films leave a physical mark that visitors can stand beneath. Fact 11. A man imprisoned by the Nazis played one of their generals. Among the German officers is Kurt Jürgens, cast as a German general. During the actual war, Jürgens had been imprisoned in a Nazi internment camp for being politically unreliable. He was not a collaborator. The regime considered him an enemy. The film also features Gert Frobe as a German sergeant, the actor who would shortly become Goldfinger, and the Sean Connery, playing a British soldier here, would become the Bond who defeats him. 2 future players in the same fictional confrontation are here, on opposite sides of a different war, seemingly without awareness of the connection. Fact 12. 23,000 real soldiers served as extras. Zanuck did not use camera tricks or models to create the scale of an invasion. He borrowed an army. The United States, Britain, and France contributed approximately 23,000 soldiers to the production. The U.S. 6th Fleet supplied actual warships. When the camera shows waves of men crossing the beaches, the viewer is watching thousands of actual servicemen responding to direction rather than combat orders. The logistical cost was enormous. The authenticity it produced is why the battle sequences still carry weight that digital recreations struggle to replicate. Fact 13. A camera shadow charged Omaha Beach alongside the soldiers. In the original theatrical release, during the assault on Omaha Beach, the shadow of a film camera can be clearly spotted moving alongside the soldiers as they surge forward, tracking the action, keeping pace, visible against the sand before the cut. For a film that labored to feel like recovered historical footage, it is an endearing human mistake. When the film was later restored, technicians quietly removed the shadow using digital tools. Viewers who saw the original knew the truth. For decades, a phantom cameraman was charging that beach alongside the men he was filming. Fact 14. The studio wanted to dump the film quickly, and Zanuck fought them off. While Zanuck was making The Longest Day, Fox was hemorrhaging money on Cleopatra. Desperate executives wanted to release the film immediately and quietly, to recover something from the market as fast as possible. Zanuck refused. He protected his 3-hour film and insisted on a proper release. The film became a massive hit. The success helped Zanuck seize control of the studio itself, becoming its president. The picture the studio wanted to discard as a distress sale rescued the company and elevated the man who believed in it. Fact 15. A real D-Day veteran climbed the cliffs of Pointe du Hoc for the cameras. Among the extras in the Ranger assault on Pointe du Hoc was a man named Joseph Lowe. On June 6, 1944, Private Lowe had scaled those exact cliffs cliffs with the 2nd Ranger Battalion, under fire, with German soldiers above him. He was 22 years old. 18 years later, he climbed the same rock face for a film crew. The physical action was identical. What he was thinking with each handhold on that cliff face is not recorded. And now the bonus I've been saving for last. In the early hours of June 6, 1944, a young British officer named Richard Todd parachuted into Normandy with the 7th Battalion of the Parachute Regiment. His mission was to reach Pegasus Bridge and reinforce the troops who had captured it in a glider assault. The commander of those troops was Major John Howard. Todd reached the bridge. He and Howard held it. 18 years later, Zanuck cast Richard Todd in The Longest Day. He was cast as Major John Howard, the man he had personally reinforced, on that actual bridge, on that actual morning. The casting required a further adjustment. Because Todd was now playing Howard, another actor had to be hired to play the young officer who had arrived to reinforce him. Another man was cast as Richard Todd. A real veteran reenacted his own history, but in someone else's role, while watching another actor play him from a few feet away. This is not something a screenwriter could have invented. The actual war provided it. Zanuck was paying enough attention to notice.